Good morning, everyone. My name is Donald Lassere. I'm honored to be the president and CEO of the Muhammad Ali Center. I'd like to welcome you all to this very special day. We're going to have a couple of special announcements today. First, I'd like to acknowledge our distinguished guest, my friend and a great public servant, Mayor Greg Fisher, our superintendent of schools, Donna Hargens, another good friend and co-host of the Compassionate Louisville movement, Tom Williams, and Peter Hayes, the director of Service for Peace, and also responsible for these great compassion benches that our folks are sitting on. Thank you. With that, I'd like to introduce Justin Walker, the executive director of Global Gamechangers. Justin.
Good morning. My name is Justin Walker, and I'm a law professor at the University of Louisville, and I serve as executive director of the Global Gamechangers Children's Education Initiative. This semester, 50 students from the West End's Young Elementary will spend their after-school time at the Muhammad Ali Center, where our structured educational program will teach them every day that no matter where you come from, no matter how young you are, you can make a difference in the world. This program, we believe, has the potential to change their lives. Whereas many of these children have never been to a museum, they will now be spending every afternoon at one of our country's most culturally enriching environments. Whereas many of these children have seen firsthand some of the less positive things happening in our community, they will now be spending every afternoon hearing and reading about young people who are making good things happen in our communities. And whereas many of these children are told far too often, in 100 subtle and unsubtle ways, that they're not important, they're not talented, that they can't make a difference, they will now be spending every afternoon learning the opposite. My talent plus my heart equals my superpower. That's what the Global Gamechangers is all about. Through a program that has received 3 straight successful evaluations by JCPS evaluation specialist Dr. Judy Bondahar, we tell kids that they can take their talent, something they enjoy doing like singing or playing basketball, they can combine it with their heart, whether their cause is helping the elderly or fighting bullying, and when they do, when they sing in a nursing home or when they play basketball with a bullied kid, they become real superheroes, just like Superman or Wonder Woman. And as a result, the child becomes more empowered, more compassionate, more responsible, and more successful, not just after school and not just for a little while, but for the rest of their lives. The partnership between the Global Gamechangers, the Muhammad Ali Center, and Young Elementary is a unique partnership that shows what can happen when a community partner, a cultural partner, and an educational partner come together and cooperate for a common mission to meet the needs of our most underserved citizens. I'm indescribably grateful to all the financial supporters who believed not just in this partnership, but who believed in these kids. Those generous supporters include Cozair Charities, Hilliard Lyons, the Geens Foundation, Brown-Forman, and Louisville Magazine. Our gratitude also extends to JCPS, the Young Elementary, its instructional assistant, Tiffany Travis, and of course, its principal, Mary Minyard, who not only believes this program will inspire its participants, but she also believes its participants and the values they return to school with will be a part of her transformative efforts to change the culture of an entire school. We are also grateful that leadership, guidance, and critical evaluations will be made possible by classroom instructors, elder mentors, youth mentors, evaluation specialists, and capacity builders from the U of L College of Education, the U of L School of Medicine's Optimal Aging Institute, the U of L Department of Psychology and Brain Sciences, and AmeriCorps Vista. And we are grateful to the Mayor's Compassionate Louisville initiative and Service for Peace. You'll hear shortly about the 2 wonderful compassion benches that they've made possible at Young Elementary and the Ali Center. Finally, our gratitude goes to the Muhammad Ali Center, a tremendous partner and a true believer in Muhammad Ali's cause of equal opportunity for all. Like Ali, we believe that the splendor and wonders of this world, the beauty and compassion and countless kindnesses of life, don't belong to any one neighborhood or any one group of people. They were created for all of us, and they should be enjoyed by everyone. On behalf of our board of directors and our dedicated team, especially Jan Helson and Ann Walker, whose tireless work has made this program possible, thank you to all our partners for supporting the Global Game Changers and our mission. Thank you. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our next speaker. We're thankful to her for being here today to help us launch this partnership. She has spent a lifetime working to educate children. She is the leader of our public school system, the superintendent of Jefferson County Public Schools, Donna Hardings.
I can't help but say, I always say I have the best job in Louisville. On a morning like this, I have the best job in Louisville. So I want to thank all the partners who have joined forces to bring this opportunity to our well-deserving students. The JCPS Vision 2020 Strategic Plan says we need to provide opportunities for all students so that they can graduate prepared, empowered, and inspired. This is Vision 2020 in action. This innovative program supports our strategic plan by gathering powerful community forces to help address the equity gap that threatens the success of many of our students. By the time students in lower income and minority families start the 6th grade, they are 6,000 hours worth of enrichment behind some of their peers. Those hours represent summer camps, preschool, extracurricular activities, and parent interactions. They represent before and after school opportunities that provide healthy social interactions and opportunities for teamwork, leadership, and collaboration. These opportunities build self-esteem and friendships, and the interactions promote communication and listening between peers. Those skills are many of the skills that many of us take for granted, but they represent the healthy balance of skills that students need to navigate through life and to reach their full potential. Those skills really help students discover their superpower. This Global Game Changers after-school pilot program will bring enrichment and experiences to students who need them the most. These young elementary students will be exposed to new guest speakers, learn about new roles in the community, and engage in service learning projects that will help them see their community through fresh eyes. And importantly, in this amazing setting. I'm very pleased that this program has young elementary principal Mary Minyard, I call her a superhero, as a leader and a champion. Her enthusiasm is contagious. She has established many partnerships at Young that bring outside talent into the school so that students will benefit. And I want to also acknowledge Dr. Kirk Lattimore, who is her area superintendent and who supports Young Elementary. So I look forward to seeing the progress. I look forward to seeing empowered and engaged students who are inspired to change the world with their emerging superpowers. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Hardings. Our next speaker needs no introduction. He is a tireless champion of compassion. He leads by his words and by his example. He is a great friend of the Global Game Changers, Mayor Greg Fisher.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's really fun and amazing to see what's going on in the city with all of our efforts around compassion and seeing how it's affecting so many people in such a positive way. And it's not just here in our city. Of all the things that we do citywide, when we get inquiries from other governments around the world, you think they might want to talk about Churchill Downs, our economic development strategy, our health programs. The number one thing they ask about is, what is this with compassion? Why do you emphasize that as a city? Who all is involved with that as a city? So for folks that kind of look a little funny at some of this, I mean, this is beyond the stage of kind of something interesting. It is a movement that's taking place. And our city is really in the center of this, and it's something that we should all be proud of. It's not just a soft little squishy type of movement either. Last year, our biggest economic development success of the year, we were competing against Nashville, and they'd started out with 100 cities. It got down to 2. This employer will have over 1,000 employees eventually in our city. And when I asked them what made the difference, why'd you end up selecting Louisville? They said, we loved your city's focus on compassion. And you could have blown me away with a feather or whatever that is. I was like, wow, I didn't realize that. So people understand that other people reaching their potential is something that obviously we can talk about every day. What did you all think about when you thought about being Superman or Wonder Woman when you were young, right? Everybody thought about having those powers. Mine was I would close my eyes and think that I could like fly around the world and, you know, be in Japan one minute and then be over in Thailand the next and Germany the next and back home before my mom caught that I snuck out in the middle of the night. You know, I had this cape and I was flying all around the world. But what's really important and inspiring about superheroes, obviously, is not just their powers. Good superheroes, right? It's that they've got that goodness inside of them that people are inspired by and they want to follow as well. And that's what excites me about Global Game Changers. It's been really beautiful, Jan, to see how this has come from an idea and how you kind of executed this along into this citywide and national movement as well. And that's the power of the Game Changers, right? It's in the heart and it's in the pure intentions of lifting everybody up here in our community. And I think for all of us that have been on this journey since the beginning, we understood that the importance of developing social muscles, is what I call them, through this compassion work, because what we're doing is we're working with each other, we get to know each other, we don't look at each other as the other, right? We look at each other as together, we're interdependent, and our job is to lift other people up so that they can realize their potential, regardless of where they come from, but particularly for folks, whether they be young or old, that have not had the benefit of exposure that many of us have had throughout our lives. And that's really the irony of this, is it ends up helping us, right? All of us that are involved with this work, as I look at, I know almost all of y'all in this room, have met so many different people through this type of work, whether it be compassion work, restorative justice work, the right turn work that we're doing. And when we meet people that are very different from us is when we enhance our capacity to do more good in the world. Sometimes it means we have to go out of our comfort zones to do that, but that's when we know we're learning. And when we're learning, we again expand our capacity. Muhammad Ali understood this about giving, and how fortunate we are as a city to have him as one of our citizens. Every time I come into this center here, I'm just so grateful, because yeah, he was the world's greatest boxer, but this was all a trick, as we talked about many times, for him to send his message out about human potential and how important it is to lift each other up. One of his 6 core principles is giving, to present voluntarily without expecting something in return. Pretty simple. We're all taught that. Many of us try to pursue that the rest of our life. We've seen this come to action in our community many, many times. Most recently, and probably most dramatically, was when we had the hateful graffiti down at our Islamic Center. Donald was there along with me, and many of you all. Over 1,000 people showed up to paint over the graffiti with love, as Tom Williams would say. We could have all done it in about 2 hours, the people up here. But 1,000 people wanted to be there to make a statement about how important it is that we lift each other up and attack on one of us as attack against any of us. So what could have been a horrible story turned into a national and international story of how a community responds with compassion and with love. And certainly in this kind of crazy time we're living in right now, those need to be the stories coming out of our cities. We see it during our Give a Day week of service. We started with 1 day. The demand was so big we extended it to a week. Actually 8 days, we call that a week. But 165,000 volunteers. This April, we plan to break our world record again, and I'm really excited to see the participants in the Global Game Changers here this morning will help us with Give a Day as well. So we're tying all this together in a really smart way to get more and more exposure to this concept, and then we know the more it's exposed to more people, the more that this really does in fact become a global movement. This program also aligns really well with our Cradle to Career system of lifelong learning. in the community because it focuses, as Superintendent Hargan said, on fulfilling that critical out-of-school time gap that some people take for granted because they have so much for others, and some are so thirsty because they don't have any. And this program then offers that nurturing and that guidance that we're very, very much appreciative for. I want to thank a few folks. Brenda Frank is in the back. Brenda is from my office. She's been a tireless leader from the beginning in our compassion efforts. Thank you, Brenda. Tom Williams and Brenda are co-host of the Compassionate Louisville effort that is by far a global best practice on how to mobilize a community around this noble goal of compassion. I mentioned Jan Helson, who is super low-key over here. You know, she would say, "Oh, I don't have anything to do with this." You're our founder and our inspiration in this movement, and I really appreciate the way that you just keep growing and scaling the whole program here. Justin, you and your team are doing a phenomenal job as well. It's amazing what you can do. You know, just put your head down and work. Doesn't matter who gets the credit. Just keep moving forward, and you can see what happens here today. JCPS, Dr. Hargans, no hesitation to get involved. A leader that wasn't as good as Dr. Hargans would say, "This stuff sounds a little flaky to me. You know, come back some other time." They've embraced the efforts around compassion, and they're seeing the benefit to their students in terms of their ability to calm down, to learn, to be exposed to more activities. It's been extraordinary leadership, and we're very appreciative for what you guys are doing. And then I think it's just serendipitous that we happen to have had Muhammad Ali in our city. This is what Muhammad was about from day one. This is about what Donald Lazier is, our executive director, how he lives his life and how he lets us use this facility in ways to express Muhammad's values to the rest of the world. So I really do think this program can be a game changer for folks. It's going to affect people in ways that they don't know, and it's going to continue to spread this love and compassion that our city is known about. Because, you know, to close, you know, but when you think about Superman, I say flying in super speed and heat vision are all really cool, but the ability to inspire people with love, kindness, and compassion, that is the real superpower. So thank you, guys.
Thanks so much, Mayor Fisher. Our next two speakers are at the center of the effort to keep Louisville the most compassionate city in America. And we're so grateful that they have made possible the two wonderful compassion benches that have been donated to the Ali Center and Young Elementary to commemorate today's partnership. It's a pleasure to introduce the co-host of Compassionate Louisville, Tom Williams, and the Director of Service for Peace, Peter Hayes.
Thank you, Justin. Maybe I'll go first, if you don't mind, Peter. The mission of Compassionate Louisville is to nurture and champion the growth of compassion. Everyone's included in this mission, and it's really a shared leadership platform. I'd like to thank Jan Helson for leading the education constellation, and her work with this and the global Gamechangers has been really vital to growing compassion among the youth. But my job today is to tell the story of the compassion benches. This work has been miraculous in some ways. We've had a lot of wonderful synchronicities, and the benches are a continuation of that. The way compassionate cities work is they ask the government to make a public commitment to compassion, and our city planned to make a commitment, and it was passed by our Metro Council on a Thursday to go to Mayor Fisher on a Friday, and the Friday that Louisville signed our resolution was 11/11/11. These compassion benches originally came to us from Winston-Salem. Our city's helped about 40 other cities get started with this, and Winston-Salem used these compassion benches as a place to signal where a young person may need to receive or want to give compassion. So it would be a safe place to go where they could receive that sort of exchange. And a couple of our leaders, Martin Brooks and Laura Haynes, decided that during the time around 9/11, a similar sort of signal should be sent to our Islamic community. So on September 18th, they had planned to dedicate compassion benches at our mosque. What ended up happening was on September 15th, the mosque was vandalized, but as Mayor Fisher mentioned, we went forward with the dedication of the benches. And I think I agree with Mayor Fisher that on that day you could kind of feel waves of love, and it was really an opportunity for the community to come together in favor of our Islamic brothers and sisters. The next interesting synchronicity was our friends at the Islamic Center wanted to pay that day forward, so they said, we're going to dedicate a compassion bench and give it to the Jewish synagogue on Highway 42. What just so happened that they planned to give that compassion bench on November 13th, which, as you will remember, was the day the terrorist acts were happening in Paris. So again, our community on that day, we had our brothers and sisters of different faiths coming together. So it's completely appropriate that the third compassion bench should go to maybe the world's most famous Muslim here at the Ali Center. And we're delighted that the fourth bench will go to Young Elementary. And we'd really like to thank Peter Hayes and Service for Peace for donating the funds for this and for being here today.
Thank you, Tom. As mentioned, as part of the National MLK Day of Service, Service for Peace has been a lead agency, so we received some funding and we were able to give a grant for these benches. I also wanted to highlight that Global Gamechangers, commemorate them and the Ali Center for the great work. This is a very innovative program. We are going to be having the MLK Day of Service, and there'll be over 500 volunteers coming out in Louisville. We got some folks from the University of Louisville. Let's give them a big hand. They're bringing out 300 volunteers. And that's also kicking off the 40 Days of Peace campaign, which the Global Gamechangers will participate here. So we want to thank everyone, and it's kind of a warm-up for the Mayor's Give a Day. It's the first major day of service, so we appreciate everyone's activities and events, and these compassion benches, I'm sure, will be used very well. Thank you.
Moment of silence. Jan, can you come up here? She's shy like me, so I'm just going to put her on the spot. Yeah, I'm shy. We're so inspired by this partnership that we know we're going to help 50 young elementary students close the enrichment gap. But 50 students is not enough. We can do more. And so our team here at the center did some research, and we found out that there were around 3,000 families on the Kentucky Transitional Assistance Program, or KTAP. That's providing financial assistance to low-income families. Of those 3,000 families, that represents 5,000 young kids. Many of them are already in JCPS, some will be attending JCPS. So what we decided to do here at the center, inspired by Jan, Global Gamechangers, our partnership, is to offer those 5,000 families free memberships to the Muhammad Ali Center. What that will do is have them have the ability to come to the center, see our temporary exhibits, and more importantly, as Mayor Fisher said, have the opportunity to expand their minds and think about becoming superheroes, think about becoming great. One of my favorite Muhammad Ali quotes is this: what you are thinking about, you are becoming. And we want them to think about becoming great. So with that, we're going to open it up for questions. Thank you again for coming.